Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes. This is the Astrology Numerology forecast of an upcoming event in the stars and numbers. In this case, the Aries full moon. And there's so much to cover, not only because of when it happens, but how it happens and the implications, ramifications, and the fact that it ties in directly to the final eclipse that just occurred on October 2nd in Libra, the solar eclipse, and so much more. So let's dive right in. So this full moon in Aries is exact on October 17th at 12:27 p.m. That's Universal Time in Greenwich in London. And at 7:27 a.m. Eastern Time, New York, and 4:27 a.m. Pacific Time, LA. Now, October 17th is a special day in 2024 because between the 10th of October and the 19th of October, the day universally and the date are exactly the same number. In this case, the 10th of October is also a 10 universal date. That means if you add all the single digits up for the date, they add up to the same number. On the 17th, October 17th, 2024, adds up to 17 as well. So there'll be a double 17 impact. And 17 is the immortality number, a very powerful number of leaving a legacy behind. So this full moon carries with it the strength and longevity and infinity, the eternity of something that is very important, dynamic, and will set the stage for a long time to come. So looking at all the stars and how they line up to each other is absolutely vital. So the other thing is we're in an 8 universal year in 2024, and 17, 1 plus 7 equals 8. So it reduces to the root number 8, and we have a 888 code. 8 universal years, 17, 17, also 8. So anything in triplicate is especially potent because it's creation. Father, mother, child, mother, father, child, whichever order you want to take. It is about literally bringing something into being, a birth of some kind. So triplicate of the immortality code. That means strength, leadership, confidence, taking responsibility, overcoming obstacles, and gaining a lot of courage as a result, which comes from having that visionary leadership where you see beyond just the minutiae, but you literally go into the full extent of ramifications of every action, everything that you do and say, and truly allowing yourself to be inspired. We continue, as I said, something that was birthed in the Libra solar eclipse on October 2nd, which was a new moon of new beginnings, the final eclipse of the year. And PLUTO is currently in Capricorn. PLUTO plays a major role in this Aries full moon. So I'm bringing up PLUTO because it's the final eclipse with PLUTO in Capricorn as well. That's what the Libra eclipse was. And the sun and moon for the Libra new moon eclipse were exactly square to Mars. Mars is the ruler of Aries and hence the full moon in Aries. And Mars plays an absolutely vital role in this lunation as well, in that there is a grand square with the sun and moon square to Mars in Cancer. So the sun and moon are respectively at 24 degrees, the moon 24 degrees in Aries, square Mars at 22 degrees in Cancer, and the sun is at 24 degrees Libra, forming that other square from the other side to 22 degrees in Cancer, which is where Mars is. And then opposite Mars and creating another double square is Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. So there's a grand square with those four, Sun, Moon, Pluto, and Mars, and then Chiron joins the fun as well, if you want to call it fun, and that Chiron is conjunct the moon. Chiron is at 21 degrees in Aries. So 5 planets involved in this grand square, and they're all absolutely vital. And we'll go into the whole storyline. And there are some beautiful trines as well that we're going to cover that are very important because they bring balance to a lot of the tension, because a grand square is the most tense sacred geometric shape that you can have in astrology. It literally is 4 squares that create an actual square, right? So 4 squares that are 90 degrees from planet to planet, and they create an actual, what looks like a square. So there is this tension, and the tension needs an outlet. And the outlet with Mars and Aries is action. If you want to create change in the world and change in your life, then you need to change how you show up. And showing up in the negative Mars way, which would be agitated or angry or fearful, it will cause you to mute your vitality or feel drained mentally, feel drained physically, emotionally, because you are expending energy in a way that is letting off steam, but then also feeling deflated as you're doing it or after you do it. So it's very important in general during this Aries full moon to get very grounded and have a way to get out in nature, to literally ground yourself, to breathe deeply, and always ask, well, what is it that I need to understand about the current situation to help me not feel angry, not feel agitated? So allowing inspiration and the divine to help you through any relationship or any situation that comes up that pushes your buttons, that triggers you. Aries is a fire sign. The moon is in Aries. The moon is emotional, very heart-centered. So the moon is being fired up in a new way. And since Aries represents going for it, not holding back, and it's the first sign as well. And we just had the Libra solar eclipse, which is all about new beginnings, setting the stage. We have this opportunity now to move towards a new emotional response to life. So you'd have to be more aware about those habits that may be negative, that may be impacting you in a negative way. So setting yourself free from those emotional habits. And you're really being asked to do that because we have this grand square, and squares, even one square, is all about getting up and doing something about it. So to act on the discovery is really key with Aries and Mars. The sun is in Libra. You're setting self free in your relationships. The first, always foremost, is the internal relationship, the one you have with your intuition. Are you listening? That's the most important relationship with the divine, with source, with the universe. Your inner voice is the one voice that will keep you from moving into codependency, that will allow you to truly be empowered at all times and make decisions and say things and focus on whatever your thoughts stream is focused on silence, on presence. So that is the key relationship to focus on. And then of course Libra also represents your close relationships. How do you feel around the person? And if you find that your feelings around the person have shifted and you may not feel quite as comfortable, then spend less time with that person. Just make that decision, not go by the expectations that you may feel, which are all hand-me-downs and not connected to your inner voice, right? So before we go into the really big message with Mars and Aries, and also with the PLUTO, because PLUTO is opposite Mars, and this is all a big storyline that's unfolding, I want to focus on Venus trine Neptune. It's a beautiful trine. Venus is at 29 degrees in Scorpio, and Neptune's at 27 degrees in its own sign of Pisces. These are water signs, and they're important because Mars is in Cancer, and they're actually forming a grand trine, these 3 planets, Mars, Neptune, and Venus. And it means that there's a lovely sense of focusing on what is beautiful. And Pluto participates as well. Pluto's at 29 degrees in Capricorn, sextile to Venus, and it creates an absolutely gorgeous triangle with Neptune and Venus. And it infuses you with such passion and love, appreciation of sensuality and sensitivity that is deeply spiritual. There's this gorgeous acceptance and compassion that allows the truth to set you free without judgment. And so it connects you in a really heart-centered way, in a truly wonderful, wonder-filled way. Pluto, of course, will always bring things to the surface that have not been visible, understood, seen, that have been more unconscious or completely not considered. But then the bringing it to the surface allows for the healing to happen. And there's a lot of healing surrounding this full moon in Cancer, also because the moon is conjunct Chiron. So now let's move into Sun and Moon T-square Mars, Sun and Moon T-square Pluto, and the conjunction of Moon and Chiron. First of all, Mars rules Aries. Aries is the first sign. Mars likes to be first, number one, to win, to move ahead, to be completely independent. Mars doesn't care about traditions. Mars sets the rules, right? Mars just likes going for it. And it gives you a lot of confidence. There's a lot of courage and fire and passion with Mars. Pluto and Mars are co-rulers of Scorpio. Scorpio is another water sign. Mars is in a water sign. Mars is in Cancer. So Mars in Cancer is making a big statement. Cancer is a cardinal sign. Aries is a cardinal sign. Pluto is in Capricorn. That's a cardinal sign. And the Sun is in Libra, the fourth cardinal sign. Grand square and cardinal signs indicate new beginnings, action. And this is a grand square, action. So let's focus on Mars in Cancer, because this is a huge storyline for the next many, many months, all the way through April of 2025. Mars entered Cancer on September 5th. Mars will be opposite Pluto on November 3rd. Remember that Mars and Pluto are co-rulers of Scorpio, and the Sun will be in Scorpio at that time. So this is a huge opposition coming up. Mars will move into Leo on November 4th, the day after the opposition. And then Mars will begin its retrograde. Mars retrogrades every 2 years. Mars will begin its next retrograde on December 7th and retrograde back into Cancer on January 6th. Now, let's take a pause here for a moment, because we have September 5th, November 3rd, November 4th, December 7th, and January 6th. And those numbers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are all consecutive each other, obviously. And so they represent a pattern that is of a rapid forward momentum. Even with Mars retrograding, there's a new beginning energy here. Mars rules the first sign of Aries that is being put into play since October, since the Libra eclipse, when both the Sun and Moon were square to Mars, and now the Aries eclipse, which is ruled by Mars, okay? And Mars is in the grand square. So it's a big Mars story. Now, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which is where Pluto is. And that means Cancer is the sign opposite Mars's sign of exaltation. And that makes Cancer the sign that Mars is in its fall. Okay, this is based on ancient astrology, and it is powerful to know when planets are in their signs of exaltation and fall, and there's also detriment, and the sign that it rules, that is the rulership of. And even though Mars is in its fall in Cancer, there are some positives to Mars in Cancer. First, Cancer is very sensitive. Mars is more reserved in Cancer. It helps to balance and dampen Mars's energy, which sometimes can be really forceful. Also with Mars in Cancer, Mars is more driven to help others, because Cancer is the sign of nurturing, of the family, of the mother. And so there's a sense of philanthropy or helping your family, helping the collective. It could be any of the above. Now, Mars also in ancient astrology is the ruler of war. And Mars in Cancer can be much more defensive. And that means Mars wants to avoid confrontation and is less direct, but there can also be this sense of manipulation from a place of hidden energy. And all the water signs, all three, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, have this hidden energy as well that can be manipulative if it's not used in a positive way. So with Cancer, the energy is to hold on to hurts, to then reach resentment, which can build unless you have a creative outlet. So one of the big things to do at this time is make sure you have an outlet for challenges that you feel. So expressing them, any turbulent emotions, expressing them, because otherwise they're going to zap your drive, they're going to zap your willpower with Mars in this placement. More than any sign placement for Mars, it is important to release your feelings and work through them. So that's a really big takeaway in general for this whole period that we're in, and particularly coming to a head now with this Aries full moon. Then we have the moon in Aries conjunct Chiron, and we have Mars coming opposite Pluto in early November. So there's healing that's going on. There's deep emotional healing, deep physical healing, because Mars in Aries rules the first sign, which is the sign of the body. And since Chiron is square to Mars, Chiron's part of the grand square, it's conjunct the moon's square to Mars, there's a major sensitizing impact here. You want to heal something that may be related to hostility and anger. And Chiron will bring that into your conscious awareness so that you can learn not to be aggressive when something appears, or impatient or manipulative, right? So you want to be assertive, but assert yourself motivated by love, which is what Chiron stands for in the end. The sacred healer heals through love. So Mars in the sign of Cancer, the sign of nurturing and loving others. It's the moon sign. It's the heart sign. It's, even though it's Mars's sign of the fall, and Mars is thereby weakened in Cancer, if you can weaken the aggressiveness and impatience and heighten the love and put the passion into the caring and the nurturing, then you can overcome the struggles of that Mars Cancer theme. And there's a lot of growth, because Mars square Chiron really is asking you to act, right? To take practical action and to be consistent about it, and to focus on that love that then transmutes the propensity to want to just be aggressive. So this kind of practical action actually develops a deep healing legacy for you, and it can impact you health-wise in a big way, just because Aries rules that first house of your body, and Mars does too. So Mars is not necessarily known to be kind and sweet. It's more known to be encouraging and motivational and groundbreaking in terms of taking the initiative, right? Going forward with something that nobody's ever done, or not having a care about what other people think. All of those are good qualities as well in balance. So in this case, the kindness is not to be self-critical or critical of others. It's again turning to love and keeping in mind that it is vital with Chiron conjunct the full moon, the moon itself, and square to the ruler, Mars, of the Aries full moon, to nurture your well-being. And that means to eat well, because without good food, healthy food, good sources of water, lots of sleep or enough sleep, your brain cannot fire at full capacity, and you can't see things clearly. And then the subconscious, all the water signs that are very much part of this full moon, then the subconscious overwhelms the conscious mind, and all your unconscious programming floods your mind. And that means the subconscious is going to be in control, and it's going to limit your ability to think and create anything that is high vibrational. So in fact, the subconscious in general limits your ability to think, and it creates compliance because you're not conscious of anything. You're not aware, so you just comply. And without this free thought, so again, Mars is very free, very liberating. Without this free thought, there's no free will. And without free will, you become compliant and you don't even question. You're not curious. And without that free will, you don't have that natural, free, soul-centered expressions, heart-centered expression, right? And without that expression, you lose touch with your purpose, and you lose touch with your ability to have compassion, right? To be aware that others have walked a different path, and to always, always have compassion, never to judge. If you lose touch with your purpose and don't have compassion for others, it makes it easier to feel divided from others, right? So if you look at that and you look at how when you are in touch with free thought and free will, and not to be compliant, but to truly be self-aware and to be in the present moment, then you will not allow yourself to be divided. United we stand, divided we fall. And this is the key right now, because Mars can go either way. Aries can go either way. Pluto, the planet of power, can go either way, to disempower or to empower. So we don't want our soul, our purpose, to be suppressed. So we can't think and bring everything into our conscious mind, because that will limit our ability to tap into the strength of the human spirit, of the divine, that infinite power of love, which is the highest vibration there is love. Cancer represents love. Mars, the ruler of this full moon, is in Cancer. Mars will be in Cancer for so long, except that little sojourn in Leo. It is pretty much in Cancer. And love is the message. Love brings courage. The word courage is based on the word love in French, cœur, or heart, I should say. So love is who we really are inside. And it is our energy source. And it is the most powerful force in the universe, is love. Love your life into reality. So when we start living in that place of love, and we start living on purpose, then game over. There's no co-opting, there's no compliance, and this is where the courage of Mars, the empowerment of Pluto, the love and healing of Chiron, the grand square of action, Venus trine Neptune, bringing beauty, love, beauty, caring, sweetness. And Jupiter is trine the sun. And I'm leaving the best for last because this is so exciting. Jupiter is at 21 degrees in Gemini. And of course, the sun is at 24 degrees in Libra. And this is a beautiful trine that complements the grand trine with Venus and Mars and Neptune, and also the sextile to Pluto. So there's a lot of really positive, harmonious energy with all these planets. And that means that we are here to spread our wings. Jupiter wants us to fly. Jupiter wants us. Jupiter's in Gemini. Gemini is another travel and exploration and curious sign. And so Jupiter's placement there, and it's trine to the sun during this incredible full moon, is asking us to explore and asking us to be sensitive to energy and to where we live, our home. Remember, Mars is in Cancer. That's our home. That's our family. That's where we reside. So this is an incredible time for new beginnings in our home, where we live, also where we choose to travel with Jupiter in Gemini. That's a huge travel year that we are in the midst of. And so knowing your best places on Earth is vital. You have an astrology map that's not just your astrology birth chart, but your natal chart is superimposed on the Earth, and it's called astrocartography. And I have a free new masterclass at positivelocations.com that will tell you so much about the power of fortunate places, the 5 critical components you need to know about all your lines, your astrocartography profile, that cover your career and relationships and abundance and health and family and friends. And it's vital that you understand how places impact you. And this is also on the minute neighborhood level. So you can discover more at positivelocations.com. And to help you understand astrocartography and all the different lines, I have lots of celebrity examples for you. Plus, I cover the one really common mistake people make when they just look up their lines on astro.com or wherever you go. Really important to know, because there can be so many vital pieces of information that you do not know, and then you may travel or move somewhere and it's not going to work out in your favor. So lots of fun stuff. Again, you can watch it for free, instant access at positivelocations.com. Have a wonderful Aries full moon. I know this was a long forecast, but it's very important to understand the impact of all the celestial energies and the numerology that we covered in the beginning to make the most of it. Remember that number 17, immortality. It's leaving a legacy behind. So again, lots of love and have a beautiful week. I'll see you next week in our Star Codes podcast.